So I introduced Kim Mannes-Abbott, who also designed the exhibition and the book, etc. And also, even more famously, remember, it wasn't called Photoshopped, it was called Paintboxed. This is Kim. Self-portrait.
Very heavily retouched.
Right. But yeah,
It's a while ago.
so over to you.
So I need my screen. Oh,
Yeah.
Give you the screen as soon as we're sure.
Pressure following this. I don't think there's anything I can add, but it's a personal story. It's really nice to. Ah, it's your setup.
You.
Train called fire. And we were all showing off. You want to operate it? Fish up the line.
Right, has it got a? Yes.
It's also slick.
Paper behind my screen. So it's nice to be here. Presumably everyone knows what a paintbox is.
On here.
I have no idea. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Try not to race through. Let me know if you can't hear me or if I'm moving on too fast. So how did Paintbox change my world? Well, a year ago, I had a message from some guy called Adrian. You know, you must be really important. You're on the Paintbox list. Like, well, I'm not important. I am on the book. Yeah. Oh. I am on the book. So what's up? I said, well, it's 50 years. Paintbox has been around for 50 years. We're going to do an exhibition. I'd like to be involved. I'd like to thank Sean and Adrian for inviting me. And indeed, I was on the book, which is something nice. That catalogue thing back in 1992. We made the catalogue, obviously, it's here available to buy, which will support the exhibition.
I should briefly interject in that we have the soft cover versions of that out
That's the
there.
point, yeah.
And then you can download it for free from the website, but you can also buy them, they're £10 and there's a QR code.
So, yeah, of course, all the stuff that I've written here has been told already, but, you know, Keith Haring, Richard Hamilton, Adrian, Sidney Nolan, sorts of exciting artists that were published now in this book of the exhibition. First time they'd ever been seen. So take yourselves back to before internet, before mobile phones, PCs, no Photoshop. I don't think Photoshop, almost impossible, right, these days. Never mind AI. But in 1981, Quantel invented the Paintbox, an electronic box that you could actually, you know, paint in, as you've heard. So you'd have your tablet here, which is about 4 times the size of this laptop, and swiping on and off. So the physiology was totally different. You were looking at a screen and drawing on a tablet. Doing never been done before. Never mind the painting. They cost for just a video paintbox was around 120,000 back in the early 80s. After that, the graphic paintbox, which was more print quality, about an A5 print quality, was $500,000. So it was not accessible to anybody besides huge broadcasting companies. But being a generous company that Quantel, they donated boxes to 5 art schools, and I was at one of them. Adrian was at another one, where we had access to a paint box at the age of, I think, the age of 19. So as an undergraduate, absolutely incredible. This box that was locked into a room that no one was using because everybody was scared of it. Because you turned this thing on and you could paint. It was just kind of frightening for people. So there's the paint box which you've now seen everywhere else. So there's no point in talking about that. So I was at art school from 83 to 85, that particular part, and the paint box was there. So whilst I actually taught the art department, the fine art department to use it, because no one in the graphic department was interested, which is interesting, right? Because it was an art tool. The graphic designers just weren't interested, which was really weird. If you look at it now, you know, it was a broadcasting tool. So it was actually, in a way, created for graphics, was used for graphics afterwards. So I would draw a lot and scan my drawings and mix them with Paintbox. It became like multimedia back in 1983. Some of the first multimedia with Paintbox was made. So this kind of experimental drawings, you know, was fun. Making photographs and adding some type, putting it under a PMS machine, putting it in a paint box, and then adding these colors. So as a undergraduate, I won a competition with some of this Paintbox work for the ICA to do all the collateral back in '86 for all the art schools that year. And straight out of school, I got loads of freelance jobs. One was including launching MTV Europe, which you'd call sort of rolling out the brand these days, you know. How does it look? How do the animations work? And because I had learned the tool, taught myself how to use it at school, I could do that. And that was an amazing opportunity. The very first videos was by Ian Pearson from the Mill back in the day. They animated for weeks and weeks and weeks. Money for Nothing by Dire Straits was the very first video broadcast on European MTV. I don't have any of that work anymore. It's just that you didn't save it, you know, you had to have a huge tape to take home. You wanted to save it, and I have no idea where they are. I think I have a whole cellar full of them. I need to transfer them. So these are things that aren't publishable because they're not mine, by the way. So anyway, the video, all these kind of effects drawn that you just saw me doing as well throughout the whole video. So after having launched MTV, I could use a Paintbox, and I heard of this company, you know, that made the Paintbox. I thought, well, they flew people around the world to show how it worked. And I was like, sounds like a good deal. So I went and worked for Quantel, and did in fact fly around the world, called it global ambassador. It was a demonstrator, but you know, it was incredible, because wherever you went, everybody wanted to know how this machine worked. And also we went to NAB each year to show the new piece of kit invented by people like you. At the carousels, you'd suddenly be animating at one of the biggest broadcast shows in the world, and also coordinated with R&D, which was amazing. You would, you know, get on your bicycle, go down to the R&D department and say, you know, can you make a soft stencil? You know, you've got this fantastic pressure sensitive pen. If you make a stencil that's got a soft edge, maybe you can, you know, cut things and stick them together and make it look really cool. Like, why would you want to do that? Well, believe me, everybody will, you know. And so the next day there'd be a call, an online call, you know, could you pop down on your bike? And it, you know, it would just have been invented. So it would be possible to actually do a soft edge stencil and reverse it and stuff that is, I don't think you can really think back to how it was not to be able to do that. And because of those kind of very simple tools, you had to have incredible skills to retouch imagery and stuff. So those are tools that I still use today, I have to admit. You know, the things you learned back then. Is a couple of pictures of John, actually, with Paul Keller. Actually, John, Paul Keller, me on the Paintbox, and Hank Richard Bain, who has done all the Scorsese movies, all the special effects for Harry Potter. And I was hoping he'd be here, but he's not.
His train caught fire and he was chucked out on the station platform. They shut the line and had to go back home.
That is hard. I haven't seen him he was at Quantel before I was. So since like 1980.
We nicked him.
Yes, you did. Nice you're here. But after it being at Quantel for a year, we were kind of doing our own thing, and John arrived and set up a marketing department, which gave us the tools for this kind of work that we demonstrated, you know, kind of shadows on cars that were impossible to do without banding, pixelizing stuff. So and some of the photos of Peter Owen, surprise, there you are. A couple of days younger. So these are, this is like Las Vegas, and then going to the Grand Canyon, being taken to the Grand Canyon. We were just taken all over the world. It was absolutely incredible. In Japan, you probably recognize a few faces there, Mark Parlett, for example. So, of course, every time you would show how the Paintbox worked, actually, I should mention that the graphic Paintbox appeared, of course. That became a sort of specialism. So for print, so whenever you demonstrate the Paintbox, people would buy it for $500,000 and need someone to run it. So you'd be offered a job all over the place. So I ended up being headhunted to New York, came back to London, and then went to Amsterdam, which was where I've been ever since, all because of the Quantel Paintbox. So I think that's the Amsterdam part. I joined a company actually, when New York was fabulous, but it was 1 year. And in Amsterdam, I joined a company called Soeverein, who were a photo lab, and they had a vision, and they had a paint box, and they wanted to expand, and they actually sponsored all the artists, the photographers, artists that were interested. They gave all the downtime to all the artists. So it was a 24-hour schedule. So half of that time was given to artists who they put on the global map. And people like Inus Lamsriede and Finude Mathedin, you may or may not know who they are. But they do all the Chanel, they do all Louis Vuitton, they do all of that stuff now. They launched their little careers at Soeverein. Soeverein bought a magnificent 7 graphic paint boxes, 7 graphic paint boxes, $500,000 each back then, which is, it's a record, it's unheard of, incredible. And they were all busy 24 hours a day, 7 graphic paint boxes. So the advertising companies obviously. So who would always come in having shot something because you could mend it on a paint box. So that was the tragedy of the whole thing, really. Which was why it was nice to have artists or photographers who had a vision. So I'm going to show you a load of work that I've dug out of my cellar. For example, things I had the opportunity at the mill to retouch. Disney sourced 5 people to retouch Fantasia, which was incredible. So it was all done on a Henry. So we get moving away from the paint box for a moment. It was absolutely amazing because I don't know if you know, but Disney had plates of glass. So you'd have a tree at the back, Mickey at the front, you know, to get 3 dimensions into the scene, and they would shoot from above. But people would forget things like a pen on a piece of glass. So somewhere in the scene, if you went through frame by frame, you'd see a pen. You have to retouch it out, but it might be there for half a second. So that's like, you know, a lot of frames that you have to repaint. So we recrafted Fantasia. It was amazing. You know, elastic bands, and it actually in this beautiful fairy shot, right, there was 1 frame with black gloves and black stockings that no one had ever seen for 50 years that we had to retouch out. I wish I'd saved it. Would been worth a fortune, probably. TV broadcast graphics for BCS with Labinen. Lots of commercials that were made from just a still that were 30 seconds long, but animated colors and graphics. This is also sort of animation morphing cars, which won an effectivity award, Effie. Don't know if that's something you know here. And this kind of thing, of course, people created. You know, you'd have the art director, you'd have the very important people, the advertising company, and we'd be putting this stuff together. These are like a shot of 5 shots to, I mean, you probably wouldn't be allowed to do this now, but these are children, but to make him be able to do his little press up, you know, we'd be pumping together 5 or 6 shots. And of course, the graphic paint box had a printable area of, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, A5. So if you were working on a poster, you know, you'd be moving around. I don't know if I can explain that actually. It's almost impossible. You'd have a window on the poster and you'd have to move around and airbrush across what you couldn't see. So the skills you learnt were incredible back then with those, not simple tools, but compared to what we have now, they obviously are. This kind of thing, which, you know, we can all do in our phone actually these days, but you couldn't combine color and black and white. So you'd have, you know, a huge deer. What's it called? Sorry, I live in Holland, so I forget all these words. Transparencies that you would combine in a paint box to have a background of black and white, sort of frosted black and white, and then color. So these won also awards back in the day. I mean, we can do it on a phone now, but you couldn't do it back then. This was BBH London, yeah, regular fit, Levi's, fit. So it's advertising. There was an article, of course, when I went going Dutch, going to Holland, showing some personal work, sort of personal work, and some book covers and some advertising, which was quite nice. And some other stuff I did for exhibitions and publications. CD covers for the. And this was kind of interesting. There was a very interesting period in Holland. This was also, that's what I was talking about, launching the careers of people like Innes and Finude. who you probably never heard of, right? But they are so, they really launched their career through Paintbox. They're creating this kind of box. So the set design, but placing her in, creating all the shadows. They were quite provocative at the time. This is like 1994, global warming TV. So they were kind of edgy. They had this fashion, art with fashion mix, provocative, hyper-realistic style. So it's not supposed to look real. It's supposed to challenge, you know, it's an idea, it's a concept, they had a vision. So instead of just making things look real, they made them look sort of super real. I mean, you really obviously couldn't publish. This is like 6 stock images all photoshopped together. I mean, it's unacceptable, what's going on here these days. And some of the titles are also fascinating, but these are fashion ads. So it was the first time that you would shoot fashion and comp it into stock fashion. They were kind of ahead of their time. It's kind of, obviously she's not there. They Gave Me Oxygen is the title. This one, basically, bazooka is coke mixed with kerosene. It was just the title. Peculiar, but this was all done at the Face. I remember they went to New York and they were like, oh, we're not interested in computers here. So they went back to Amsterdam, and I managed to arrange a Paintbox for free. I don't recall where. I think there's a credit here actually. That's color space for 2 weeks, free Paintbox to comp all these images together for the Face, which launched their career. This kind of stuff. And these are where I am today, designing brand stories. I have a liquid company in Amsterdam, so it's liquid because I put together teams for small and huge global clients and position them or rebrand them. For example, these 2 brands, a coffee brand and a global brand, and Nike Town, launched that globally. So these skills, are drawing skills and comping skills, I feel I still use today. And that's it. I'll finish with something that when we got rid of Fletcher, of course, it was splitting image time. And I said, can you do a sketch? I'm like, I don't know. Well, I'll have a go. So this was my little sketch on Paintbox. You can see it's not finished. It's like a bit dodgy, but it's goodbye from me. It's goodbye from her. I hope that wasn't like Kim on speed.
Thanks, Kim.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh. So yeah, you can see the difference. What a pro. So the other thing is just researching all this vague stuff. Everyone knows painting with light, and painting with light was broadcast in 1987, even though David Hockney worked on it in 1985. He was kind of the bait to get BBC to commission a series from that pilot. However, nobody's ever seen what we're about to see, which if Cesare, is Cesare online?